Well. Good morning once again. Welcome to Sunrise. I'm Joke Rogers.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome. How much water have you taken this morning? I have this big jar of water.
You are at it again.
Yes.
How many jars of water?
This one is, let me see this
I'm sure you just got this too.
I don't want to tell you where I got it from. Go ahead and say it if you know.
I don't know.
But it's big.
Yeah.
Right?
It's quite big.
1.5 liters or something? Yeah.
No.
And I hope to finish it before this program is over today.
That's too much water in one sitting.
Why? What do you think the gents? What do you think the gents is made for? I saw something this morning.
Yes.
No, not this morning.
It must be this morning. That's what I wanted to fetch.
In the course of the week.
Oh, it's the course of the week.
You know.
I also saw something. That's what I wanted to fetch.
Okay, you ladies first.
Yes, it's. I'm guessing there was a coordinated attack overnight.
Okay.
By the U.S. and Nigeria in
the
Lake Chad area, where, terrorists were, killed. And the president has tweeted about that this morning. President Trump also tweeted about it some hours ago.
What is important for me is that people are safer.
Yes.
Because this one that, the message of President Trump sounds like...
It said,
King Kong.
At my discretion. No, it is King Kong because it said, at my discretion.
My direction. At my direction.
Direction, at my discretion, right?
I did it.
Yes. King Kong suits you. You should have applied for that role.
No, I'm Godzilla. I'm Godzilla.
But anyway, it's good to see that,
Good. You know one thing that pains me about this?
Yeah.
Is that it is something we can do by ourselves.
Yeah. But
it seems we always find a way to politicize these things. What is God, of course, you saw that president's, our president of the African CEO Summit, right, where he was, saying a lot of things. One of the things that any president cannot say is the impact of politics and politicking on executive action.
Yeah.
You hear people say, all the terrorists, we know them, they are our neighbors, they are our brothers, they are our this, they are our that, and no one is able to take them out. Did we need a Trump? Did we need a Chinese president? Did we need a Russian president? We didn't need them. But because there are some people who are always trying to guard and garrison. President Tinubu said something one of these days, sometime maybe like a week or two ago. He said, they want to use insecurity to threaten me. You know what that means? It means that is something that some people had been doing to presidents in the past. And you want to tell me those people are patriotic?
Yeah, because, the way that...
The Nigerian army is the fear of ECOMOG.
Yes, actually.
Liberia, South Africa, even the president talked about the African CEO Summit. Benin Republic, they planned a coup, he toppled it back immediately. Did we need a Trump for that? And it now comes to our own. And Nigerians, unfortunately, we are gullible enough to believe the rhetoric by some people that we cannot do anything. Anyway, let's talk about something else.
Yes, well, we're still talking about this security matters because, there's a fear now that is spreading beyond. There was a time where Kwara was always in the news, for these attacks, and we felt, all right, it's gradually spreading. Just this week, there was also an attack in Orire, a local government area of Oyo State, that's in Ogumosho, in the Ogumosho Axis, where a school was attacked. I think was it yesterday or Thursday, and the principal was taken away, a woman, and some students were also taken away. We don't know the numbers. The police were not able to give us that. So, what's going on?
What is going on, unfortunately, is a demonstration of whether or not local governments are administratively and financially autonomous.
Yeah.
Because if they were, What stops a local government chairman from funding a local vigilante and saying, be done with all this nonsense? And if the local government cannot do it, the local government is voted out. Are they autonomous? Are they independent? Do they have authority over their own environment? And I mean local governments. And we always talk about the local government as the first line of defense. If we, as a people, mutually and cumulatively pulled down the first wall of defense, what are we going to get? We're going to get an invasion. And that is what is happening. And this is not just happening in Oyo State or in Kwara State. It's happening all over Nigeria. And that's unfortunate.
So what did you notice on the expressway?
No, it's not express this time.
Because you also have road travel stories. I enjoy them, really.
I didn't travel to Lagos this time around. But I saw a story. I think it was last week we were talking about what the Minister of Education said about NC holders and all of those things.
They do not require JAM anymore.
I think he has since spoken about all of that. But there was something that was also put out. There's a directory, National Education Infrastructure something, NEDI. Education Data Initiative or Infrastructure, something like that. The minister didn't say specifically what region, but he said 80% of donor funds that we get in Nigeria for education goes to 2 regions in Nigeria. 80% of those resources go to the 2 regions in Nigeria that have the lowest numeracy and literacy rates in the country. Should I say that again? 80% of donor funds, and donor fund is not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's very expensive.
It's not just hard currency, it's very hard currency. 80% of donor funds that come into Nigeria go into the 2 regions in the country that have the lowest literacy and numeracy rates in the country.
So what are the regions?
If you go check, well, the minister didn't mention, but if you go check, historically, those two regions are the Northwest and the Northeast. Historically, the question is, what are the various administrations in those states doing? And we're talking about the Northwest and the Northeast. We're talking about Kaduna, Katsina states, talking about Borno, Jigawa,
Sokoto.
Zamfara, Sokoto, and the rest
KB.
of them. We can understand Sokoto because of the multidimensional poverty thing. But even that is not acceptable because human beings, Nigerians, live there. So the question then is, what are the governments, the authorities in those states doing, particularly in the area of education? Because the implication is that the children that are going to be produced from that region, from those 2 regions in the next 10, 20, 30 years, will they be able to compete globally? It's a challenge we're throwing to the political leaders, the elites in that environment. You know the value of education. Let's not hoodwink ourselves. You know the value of education. Emir Sanusi is from that region. El Rufai is from that region. The governor, everyone, most of these people are from that region. And you understand education. So why are we impoverishing the people?
Right. And the thing is, we've proven over time that if we actually take time and we work harder, these things can be done. It's on this program, and we've had several reports where students who represented Nigeria well in global competitions, even girls, where they did it excellently well. They've won awards, they've won so many things, so many laurels, made the country proud. So, I mean, if they can do that, which means that if they pour more into them, I mean, a lot more people can actually excel.
It's not because money is not available, clearly, because on the one hand, we have donor funds, 80% go to those 2 regions, and the state governments now have a lot more money to work, to play with. So if we activate the local government, yes, now, not gonna lie, they get more money now.
Okay, they do. So let's get into it. Political alignments and the forgotten voter is one of the very first topics that we're going to be talking about today.
That is very important. Very, very important. And then the Nairobi summit, of course, you know about it. There's this Africa First narrative going on. What's it all about? I'll find out later.
Also, the future of Nigerian broadcasting. We'll also be talking about that.
Yeah, that's one, that future, we need to switch to it. Supporting your immune system. That's our lifestyle conversation today.
And we also have the artist of the week, which you get to find.
Yeah,
you'll get to find out much later.
The artist of the week is not AI. I assure you. It's not AI. So do yourself a favor. Grab your cup of cocoa.
It's not a cup. Let's hold it together.
No.
There's love in sharing.
Yes, there is sharing love.
If someone says there's peace in having your own.
We'll be right back.
And so, Ayo, while people are busy running from one political party to another, looking at where can I best fit, what will pay me now? They are forgotten about the people that would actually vote them, regardless of
we, the voter also, we should be, is our own transfer season open?
It's open. Now, I mean, the latest now, you see, the governor of your state has now declared his intention. My governor says he's now going to run for the presidency.
The Reset Nigeria movement.
Reset.
Yes, Reset Nigeria movement.
So
it's interesting, the governor, sir, we want clarity. We want to be sure. So, on the one hand, it's on a PDP platform.
No, he said there's a collaboration.
He is a member of the PDP.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And
then, but when the one shirt that I saw that he wore, APM was gadagbaciously.
Yes, he said there's APM.
I know it's an alliance, but I thought, you know,
the PDP says there's no such thing as
but
alliance.
He's a member of the PDP.
The PDP
has he
leadership.
Been
anyway, the PDP leadership has come out to say.
We are not talking about them today. We are talking about the voter.
There's no such alliance. Because now they're not thinking about the voters.
So let us think about the voter.
There's no such alliance, and that is misinformation and what's that thing? Impersonation of their
I'm waiting for them to take the impersonator to court.
As part of whatever they're taking to court now, they should join it to their already court. Right. So we're talking about realignment and the forgotten voter. As Nigeria races towards 2027, the political class is already in motion. Defections, as we've just spoken about, coalitions, silent alliances, and backroom negotiations are reshaping the battlefield long before ballots are cast. Battlefield and what did you call it, Ayo? Transfer season. They're shaping up the transfer window. Yeah, one question lingers in the noise of ambition and strategy. Where is the voter in all of this? Are the voters also going to realign according to how they're lying?
Are we going to pot as well?
I'm guessing not. So we have, to talk about this, we have NLB founder, NLB Foundation. She joins us from our Abuja studio. Welcome, madam, to the program.
Good morning, and thank you, Ayu and Joke.
Right.
Morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
And we also have a legal practitioner, John Oloyede, who's our regular here to talk about this. Ladies first, really.
I have no issues with that.
Right. Mr. Sobi, if I can come to you.
Okay.
The voters, you know, in all of this, when they say... Right, when all these alignments and realignments, you know, are ongoing, when they're ongoing, what do you think is happening to those who are going to cast their votes at the end of the day? Because now this is a time for politicking. This is a time for the politicians. This is a time for primaries, you know, to start taking place. Alignments and realignments are ongoing. It's until January, right, and I think February, that the voters will now begin to also be a part of the process. But it seems that, you know, doing all these alignments and realignments, the person who is actually going to cast the vote and put you into the office that you're, you know, battling to be in, seems to have been forgotten. It's as if people are being taken for granted in these times. What are your thoughts?
I think this is a very interesting time in our political history. It's a very interesting time moving to the 2027 general elections. Lots of preparations going on. Yes, you are seeing the alignments with the political parties and the politicians, but they are going to go down, you know, to their localities. The real politicking is going to begin very soon. I think they also understand that whatever you are doing, you are still going to need votes. Whether those votes will count in the end is another. The continuous voter registration that is going on, that is ongoing, I think is a place for citizens to set the goals. More people got into 18 years of age since the last exercise, and so we encourage them, you know, to go and register to vote. I think the people don't seem to understand their power. Yes, maybe sometimes there have been failure, they trust in the system. A lot of people don't want to go and vote again because they feel their votes don't count. But the parties, I think we need Nigerians to understand that citizenship is a special responsibility and is a big responsibility. It's an obligation on you to participate in your own environment, in the activities of your own environment. And on who comes to power, I just want to say that the voters or Nigerian citizens should know that they need to occupy, they need to stand upright for Nigeria, despite all the flaws that we have been, you know, we've gone through in terms of the failure of some of our citizens, because it's not about you giving responsibility. Who is a citizen? A citizen, you are a Nigerian, you are carrying Nigerian passport, or whether you have passport or not, you were born in Nigeria and you have all the ingredients that qualifies you to be a good citizen or to be a citizen. Patriotism is another level. When we're growing up, there is no question about whether you are a patriot or not. People believed in the country and people invested in the country. We used to invest in the human capital itself, but we're not investing as before. And if you hear what you were even discussing before about education and so on, who has invested really? Who is preparing the future of those who will occupy, who go into the economy? And so voting is very, very important, but we need to be able to hold ourselves responsible. We need to be able to pay attention to the grassroots. Primaries for Ghana, who is having election after us, you know, they had their primaries a long time. They know their candidates already. So working on the voters is something that we have to do. A lot of education is going on from, you know, at the community levels, but we need voter education. We need more voter education by INEC itself. I remember that going into 2023 general election, up until 2 months before the general election, INEC had hardly done any voter education. What we were having was by civil society organizations and also other levels. So we must not forget that the votes must count. Nigerians need to come out en masse, despite all that is going on now. Vote, go to the polling unit, and make sure that the votes are counted while you are there. We want a free and fair election. From the civil society, we are not bothered about who is winning.
Well,
we want the process to be free and fair.
Perhaps a good place to start would be, because one of the challenges that the voter, I mean, you have the experience, one of the challenges that the voter has had is who to choose.
Yeah.
So even this entire process of political alignment and realignment, defections, coalitions, partnerships, cross-carpeting and all, a good number of Nigerians now, I'm not sure what you think, where you think their headspace is right now about this whole thing. I was at the airport on Thursday, coming back to town, coming back to Lagos, and there was this political rally on air at the airport. We were queuing to go board, and I was like, I saw the thing was PDP, APM, this, and I'm like, I was just there, and then this guy was perhaps wondering, PDP, APM, is it the single political, but what's going on here? So I'm imagining that as an example. People here, one person is moving from one party to another, and then these parties are collaborating, then they are not collaborating anymore. Where do you think the headspace, or where do you think these activities of political parties and the political elite puts the heads, or where the headspace of the voter is likely right now, from your experience?
I think what is happening is that at the end of the day is who gets to the ballot. Which party gets to the ballot? Because it's not two parties winning one. At the end of the day is with INEC, which party are they going to put on the ballot? And so it's easy for the voter to be able to determine, but I think a lot of people are confused because ideological issues are things that, need to have content, and it needs to come from within the party. But so what we are seeing now is that voters are looking and saying, what's the ideology of this party? What's the manifesto of this party? I think people should be interested, and from the civil society, we will continue to be looking and also sifting what is going on to be able to direct our voter education, to the grassroots. One important agency is a National Orientation Agency that needs to distill these things to the society. Most times during elections, we don't hear their voices because they are not funded, but they have, reaches down to the community levels in terms of being in the presence of every local government in Nigeria. At the end of the day, will they come on board? Will they not come on board? Will INEC do their own bit? Because I know there is a lot of money that is voted, into the voter education section. They need to tell us the message, bring out the message, the IEC materials that we are not working at crossroads, but we will challenge and hold people accountable. And I think we need to also, the political parties itself has a big responsibility, to work on voter registration. The other side of it is that the political party, for the first time, we are having political party register. Whether it's real or whatever they have submitted, the registration is for the first time because INEC has been really complaining of that for a very long time. They never submit the political party register.
Well, now
we are having a different one.
Well,
so now that, but they are shifting from one place to the other. So how are you going to do that?
Again, that's another challenge. Well, madam, that's politics. That's the politicians and INEC and all. I'm very much interested in the voter today. I mean, Dr. Oloyede, I'm not Dr. Oh, sorry. I give those things out occasionally.
Honorary.
Okay. There's a challenge there, right? These, machinations, moving from one side to the other and all. Maybe the question I should be asking is, where should the headspace of the voter be now? They see everything. They hear everything. Unfortunately, some will just hear one part and move. Some will just hear one headline and go all out, not knowing what the rest of the story is and all of that. So the confusion that Madam Eniobi is talking about is real. And it will seem like in all the junketing, in all the, even including all the alignments with the APC and all of that, where should the headspace of the voter be? And you know, we have voters in grades.
Yeah.
There are those who are educated, there are those who are semi-educated, there are those who are not educated, and we all have the same single vote.
And then there are voters and there are voters.
Well, the topic of the day is, we're talking essentially about the abandoned voters. And that word is very instructive. I think you chose the topic very well. Because in all this junketing, migrating, what we have is a situation where the politicians are actually the ones migrating. They're the ones moving here and there. They are not bothered about the voters, the people who will actually cast the votes. That's why they're abandoned. They are just there where they've always been. There is nothing done by any political party to move them along. Because the politicians themselves, they are actually very confused at the moment. That's why they are jumping here and there. All they care about is, I need to secure a ticket. They are all fighting like the APC, which is the biggest party in Africa. The biggest party in Nigeria is always the biggest in Africa. The biggest party in Nigeria today, there's a lot of confusion because they want, as much as they want to have a consensus candidate to put on the ballot, there are people who are beginning, because when you have a marriage of convenience, there are a lot of people who are going against what the party is saying. And that had pushed the head of the party, the president himself, to say, oh, let there be primaries. Now, they are all running helter-skelter to ensure that, oh, there will be primaries. Some people are being disqualified. Because when you have a slot and you have 10 persons contesting for a slot in one local government, it becomes a big problem. So it is not really about where the voters have their heads now. Because right now, the parties are not interested in the voters. And so...
But shouldn't that be a concern?
No. The voters now, and you say there are categories. You have to grade voters. There are the educated ones. And on one of the platforms I'm on, WhatsApp platforms, and one day we were arguing, you know, the usual banters, and I asked one of my friends, so what's the ideology of this party you are supporting? What's the ideology? Have you ever seen their manifesto and all that? And of course, educated man, engineer and all that. And he came back immediately without thinking. He said, it's our turn. Our local. That's the ideology. That means, how do you begin to tell, I mean, how does the Nigerian out there, you and I, who actually feel the brunt at the moment, how do we begin to say that, okay, we are voting for this party or not voting for that party because the ideology is, it's our turn? What makes it your turn? So we have to begin to divorce the people, the voters, from what is happening in the political space at the moment. The real politicking will start, like Madam said, after the people get their tickets. But they know their candidates.
I hear that, yes, and I understand it.
Yes.
But if the voter was educated enough, shouldn't the voter be the meter by which the political parties select their candidates?
That's the ideal. In an ideal situation, the voter should be better educated than even the politician. So that when the politician comes, the voter says, see, this is supposed to be your policy in the last 4 years. What have you delivered on this? The Nigerian voter is very peculiar. We're a country of peculiar people. So it's the other way around. We are not, there's nothing the politicians are putting on the table. They are not telling us this is what we'll do. Now, this election, this coming election in Nigeria, could be won and lost on, say, issue of security alone. If Nigerians key into that and say, look, insecurity started so many years ago. Now it's getting worse. Instead of remaining in the epicenter, Borno, for instance, it is now spreading such that yesterday it was in Oyo. 3 schools. You said something about local government not having powers and all that. 3 schools were ransacked, not one. That means they moved from one school to the other, captured students, killed a teacher, and took a principal. In one vicinity, There was no police presence. Now, on the issue of security alone, if voters were well educated, or if they were in tune with their responsibilities, ethical responsibilities, they would be able to say, okay, just tell us when will this stop. But that's not the issue. The issue is about ethnicity. That's what people are talking about, the voters. They are talking about religion. They are talking about, oh, I mean, somebody came on here recently and was saying, oh, if these people from this side of the country, if they made sure that this person does not get re-elected, then there's going to be a big war, like Rwandan war. That's a leader in Nigeria because, oh, you are the one who prevented our person from getting re-elected. Now, those are the people that should educate the people. Now, can you imagine that kind of thing coming from an educated voter?
Okay, well, Madam, I want to bring this to you, perhaps asking the same question, but here is the kick. Mr. Oloyede said something now about ideology. Someone said previously, I don't know whether I was here on this program, the fellow said, Nigeria has operated a one-party state since 1999 because it is very, very easy for anybody in any political party to move from one party to another without thinking, because they are all thinking in the same light. I don't know if that's the same understanding that the voter, the average voter today has. Secondly, I said something now to Mr. Oloyede that if the politicians, the political parties knew the kind of voter they were going to meet, that they were going to be scrutinized by the voter, this time in their process, they will be very, very careful to choose just anybody. In fact, they will be careful who they select to go and field for the election. But I'm not sure that, which is one of the reasons we're talking about this forgotten voter, that the voter should not be forgotten and that the voter should wise up. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the topic is really apt because when you are looking at the issue of the voter, at this point, most of the candidates are fighting for survival. Those who have been in positions before want to go back, others want to come in, and so you are finding they are really fighting for their own tickets. And what is going on at this point is the political education itself, which is supposed to be conducted by the Federal Ministry of Information and Communications and so on. You know, there is a lot of work to be done, but it's not being done. Let's not leave it to the politicians, because the politicians, some of them don't want you to get it right. Because when you get it right, just like you are saying, they should worry about the voter. Because if you choose somebody who has spent 4 years, who had promises, and now he's going back and he has forgotten that he was going to go back to the voters and start mending roads at the last minute and all of that, the voters are watching. I think it's very interesting for us to see that voters are looking at them with a kind of eyes when we, from the gender perspective, many women have been refused tickets, you know, into the volume, and women have been mobilizing over the years. The special seats bill is still in the National Assembly. So for women, we are going to be looking keenly about what they're saying, because in Nigeria, the selections of the political party, the candidates, they never look at the gender perspective. Why would you have a governor as a man in Nigeria where you have 50-50? You can't choose a woman. And so when you are looking at that, they are conditioning the voters, and the voters are waiting. And I'm asking Nigerians, every Nigerian should go and make sure that they have their card, so that when it is time, you can determine this 2027 election. The votes has to count. It will have to count. It's not that INEC doesn't have the system. INEC had the system to have delivered an excellent election in 2027 in 2023. But because of the glitches and so on that they say, the human error. But now, voters are watching. I know many people are disenchanted, but I'm asking them not to be disenchanted. And I think the politicians need to worry because the citizens are looking at them. We encourage ourselves, but we need voter education, and it needs to start now. It's not done, but the politicians are worrying about their tickets. But how they put, we don't know. How they also make their choices is very, very important. Now you talk of their ideological issues. People are cross-carpeting because the whole system is traumatized. If you look at what is going on, from one of the political parties, in a Labour Party, for example, they were traumatized for so long, and then, you know, people like Peter Obi decided to move to AD, and many others from even, you know, PDP decided to move. You have a minister of the Federal Capital Territory who is also putting his hand, who claimed to be in PDP, but is working for APC and destroying a lot of issues, a lot of parties. And so they moved to AD. And you say, and you have the Kwankwasia movement, you also have the obedient movement. When you are talking of voters, those ones are moving en bloc, you know, to wherever their leaders. So the movement, therefore, should we be blaming something? Are there some reasons why they are moving? Or the issue of ideology, or people wanting to serve Nigeria and they don't have the opportunity, and the state, which is supposed to brew a platform for free and fair participation in terms of deepening democracy in Nigeria, is busy causing confusion from one place or the other. I've never seen anything like that. And I think we need to check ourselves to know that the world is a stage. Nigeria, as we are now, you can live your own today. Tomorrow, we are all just skeletons. In another 50 years, I'll be a skeleton, and I'm happy to be. But you don't even have a choice. And all of us, all those who are working in state and destroying things now, they need to know that there is a tomorrow. Because they don't own the world. The owner of the world is up there and is watching everything. And it will call for the life that you have, the breath that you have.
Right, thanks, Mr. Oloyede. You know, if I could bring it to you, and she has, you know, made a lot of valid points there, and we're still talking about this, you know, cross-carpeting and defections from one place to the other. In other climes, when you know, talk about elections in a place like the United States, for instance, people vote for parties, regardless of, you know, the candidates that have come. You just say you're either voting for the Republicans or you're voting for the Democrats. So, you know, so how does it play out? These same politicians, the people that are defecting here in Nigeria, if you're those that move from the PDP to APC, it's still the same politicians. That's, you know, if people are going to vote, they will vote for candidates A if he was in APC before and then he moved to PDP. It's still the same person if he was the party's candidate that will be voted for. So it doesn't change.
Nothing changes.
Do you understand? It doesn't change. So, you know, how come, again, I ask, how are we taking the voters, you know, for granted? Because during the campaigns, you hear they'll take a look at the party logos. They actually hammer on votes for party logos. Just look for this and look for that item on the ballot, because they know that a lot of people are probably not that, especially in the rural areas. Yeah. They may not be educated enough to know what APC or PDP looks like, but vote for this or just check this logo and vote for it. So, I mean, so why do we need all these defections to be able to secure the people's votes?
Well, as it relates to the voters, it is not the voters who actually need the defections. We don't need it. It's all about so much motion without movement. Like I said earlier on, the politicians are moving. All they want is to get power. And that's what my friend said. Our local, it's our turn. It's my turn to be on this spot, and I must, whatever platform will give me that. The reason why a lot of people are, I mean, the majority of politicians are rushing into APC is because they see that, I mean, you will succeed because it is the party in power. It's not because of ideology. It's not because the people going there, they want to actually serve those who are supposed to vote for them. They are going there because it presents them with an opportunity. Once you get the ticket, you are likely to win. And why do they have this perception? They believe that the might of the state covers them, particularly with a lot of the glitches we were talking about in 2023. Some of the things that happened, it's about state power and all that. But a lot of people also forget that a Buhari came in and won because they were able to form a coalition and they were able to wrest power. They defeated the person who was in power. And then after Buhari, despite all the noise, the hues and cries, plus the glitches, the APC again won. Now, what I'm trying to say is, it is not about people moving, the politicians moving from here to that place. It is about the voters being intentional this time around, telling themselves, no politician is going to educate you aright. It's coming to tell you that, if you want to vote, look at what my party has achieved while in power, or look at what the other person has not achieved. That's not what they are bringing to you. If we are waiting, normally in a government or in political science, the political parties, one of the major functions is education of voters. They are supposed to tell them the difference between my party and that party. But in Nigeria, that is not what obtains. So if we want to wait till the politicians get their tickets to be on the ballot and all that, and we expect that they will just come and educate the people on why you should vote this way and not vote that way, we are wasting our time. I saw a picture. Somebody posted a video of herself and her daughter, and the daughter just did the victory sign, and I wrote back that this child is a member of this party. And I was like, wow, why would you say she's a member of that party? I said, can't you see the logo? She said, which logo? A lot of Nigerians, when we were growing up, we said the palm tree, we know is Action Group, demo, and all those things. I grew up, I was old enough to know that this sign means this, that sign means that, the NRC, all those things. All those logos meant a lot. Now, my own children, they don't know any logo. I'm very sure of that. I'm sure they are watching. They don't know about logo, like they say, So, you see, they don't know any logo. They are not interested. I told them, I went to my card, my voter's card. I took it there about 2 months ago to INEC. Can this card still work? I don't want a situation where you put it there and you say, it's not functioning, because it was fading. Yeah. And they said, you have to do this. I had gone online to check because somebody came to my church to educate us, INEC official, and said, okay, if you have this problem, go and do this. So I quickly did that. As part of my civic responsibility, I know I must vote. Yes. My candidate does not have to win. I feel happy voting every time, even if I'm losing. So I went there. After doing the online, I thought it was done. From court, I just went, look, I've done this, see what I got printed. They said, there's a stage you have to capture again. They took my picture, and I said, look, so if I didn't come, that means I wouldn't have been able to vote in 2027. They said yes. Wow. Then I called some church members, see what I saw. Those of you who did online, you still have to go to INEC. It's manual. You still have to do the manual part. Now, that is education. Political parties they won't do that. They are not interested in educating you because the less the number of voters, the better for them. Okay. So let me just the idea that somebody is coming from any political party to come and do that, and if you wait for the Ministry of Information, this is Nigeria of today. Who is in charge of that ministry? Does he want people to come out and vote en masse? Well, you and Madam Obi seem to be on the same page about the government coming to, and I won't hold my breath. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I'm wondering, is it about voting for parties or voting for candidates?
No, we are voting for parties. Because but, really, Madam, let me ask you this, and this is an angle that I hope will prick the conscience of the Nigerian. If you can give me an idea, madam, just briefly, first of all, because I'm going somewhere. What was the INEC budget in 2023? Some 100 million or so? Or more than that?
It was about 400 and I think over 400 billion.
Almost 500 billion? Did you say billion?
Billion. Yeah, you knew.
Billion.
Billion. Okay.
About 436 billion thereabout.
Okay. Now, we print ballot papers for about 90 million people, because after printing for the specific number, sometimes they also have to print some extras just in case. Now, the voter turnout in the last election, I think according to INEC, was about 15% in all. And they said that that was quite high, given what has happened in recent past. Let's talk about the responsibility of the voter in that wastage, so that we can understand that as a voter, like what Mr. Leide did here, we have certain personal responsibilities, even if you are just 18 years old. You have certain personal responsibilities to take. Otherwise, when you don't go to vote, you waste your money. You waste state resources, which is your money. The paper was printed for you, you did not use it. So can you help us educate the voter in that perspective, so that we know that we are also contributing to the very things we are complaining about?
I think we need to understand that every ballot paper is a lifeline, because one vote can change who becomes the official or who is elected. I want to compare it with vaccines in immunization. I was in public health for about 10 years. And I know that the antigens come in some high vials, and then some in like maybe 20 doses, some up to 50. Meaning that if you open one of the vials, because in most cases, the antigens that come to Nigeria comes in high vials. If you open a vial that is for 20 children, and only 4 children, or maybe 2 children, are in the clinic that day, and these vaccines will spoil in 4 days. If you don't, no matter what kind of ice pack you put, in 4 or 5 days it's gone bad. Would you say you are not going to open it to save the children, preventing them from maybe measles and all of that? So you cannot say that you will not print. I think for the citizens, we have a responsibility to be a part of the process, because each of the ballot paper that they print, they are using your money. And I think INEC will be able to, they should be able to sanitize the register, or the voter register, to be able to see a lot of people that have gone home to their maker. Their names are not in the places again. Nigerian system does not have the debt and debt registration, and it's not very, very compact or available. But I think there is a lot that we can do there. Nigerian citizens, you need to own your state. You need to own your country. The way the politicians are behaving right now, Nigeria is going down. Poverty is killing people. People daily, if you go to the hospitals, you end up paying bills for so many people, because people can't afford. People cannot eat. More than 139 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. In schools, children don't have, in public schools, you need to see the fate of how many children are dropping every year. And the investment in the human capital. If you look at the FAC issue, the money that is going to the elections that they talked about with the APC Congress that is online now, you find out that many of the politicians don't care about us. We need to care about us. And you need to be a part. You must take responsibility. If we have a bad governance, people we don't want in 2027, but it's your choice and my choice. We want everybody to go out there and vote and make sure that their votes are counted. For the civil society, will work hard to also urge INEC to stand tall, and the judiciary, because the count is individually. Can we make it a specific responsibility? Whether you are in the police force, you are in the army, you are in the navy, you are any form of any armed forces, wherever you are in the security system, be a Nigerian, stand upright for Nigeria, because your children are affected. Your grandchildren will be affected. So guide right. Don't follow the politicians.
Right.
Follow your own responsibility. And I want to tell you another thing, is that the German, umpire is a card-carrying member of a political party, but he's also the umpire. He doesn't mix the two. He says he's professional. When he was asked questions, he said he's professional. This one is my citizenship responsibility, so I know the party I am, and then I will go for this. And so the parties of the old were controlled by ideology. But now people are trying to survive. Politicians we need to deepen democracy. This political class need to leave the stage better than what they have done.
And Mr. Oloyede, yes. I mean, it was some of your final thoughts, but to me, I still think that it could be a lose-lose situation for the voter. The reason I say this is because, yes, we are galvanizing, talking, creating awareness. You must vote, your vote must count, you must add your voice. If you don't vote, then you don't have a say in who leads. But is it not the candidate that's presented? Is it not the candidate that wins the primary? Is it not the consensus candidate that people will still vote for in the first place? So all you need is someone to vote for the candidates that you have presented. It's still the political parties that are in control, so to speak.
Yes.
I mean, don't you think?
I mean, it's like a situation of state capture. And what we have now, except a miracle happens, what you said, lose-lose situation for the voter. But are the voters actually thinking like that, look, if I don't do something, it's a lose-lose for me? Take, for instance, many of us are on social media. As we are talking, I'm sure if you check your phones, some of them are watching and they are making comments. Some adverse, some negative, some unprintable, about even the discussants here today. That, oh, this one is a party A, party B. You see, why? I watched a program online and the lady asked a very pertinent question. He said, so why do you rave and rant for the past 4 years on social media? You keep on complaining there's no power supply, there's poverty in the land, there's insecurity, there's this. On social media, you're always there. You even buy fuel at 1,400 naira per liter to power your generator so that you can be online, charge your phone, and be engaging with people. But of what use is all this your ranting when you don't have a voter's card? Yeah. Or you have one that is going to be invalid on the day of election and you have not bothered to go and check. So the Nigerian voter cannot continue to wait for the politician who is fighting for his own survival. Most politicians are just there to get the post. And I mean, I saw a video when the senators were arriving for deliberations for the day in Abuja. Somebody just posted a video. And honestly, it's like you have, when you have, what's it called? Is it Golden Globe? All these celebrity events in America, the kind of cars and all that, funded by monies from the coffers of the Federation. You see, it's going to be a lose-lose, because if we don't get it right this time around, I don't know whether in my own lifetime, I don't pray to die so young, I'm still very young, I doubt whether, because it's going to get more entrenched.
But perhaps, my apologies,
yes.
Because we really have to go. Yes. Perhaps the challenge here, from what you and Madam Nairobi have been saying, is that Nigerians don't even know how rich they are. No. The individual Nigerian. It is your money they use to buy those SUVs and all of that. Your money is used to fix the, street lights and all. You go to vandalize your own property. I don't know. But thank you so much for your time this morning. Mr. John Oloyede is a legal practitioner and voter.
Yes,
yes, I'm going to vote.
Very important.
As well as NLB, who is founder, NLB Foundation, and voter.
Voter and observer.
That's our party, Voters Party. That's what we
NLB Center for Development. Thank you so much for your time this morning. When we return after this break, we're taking the conversation from Nigeria to Africa. That's in a moment. Stay with us.
You stay with us. And so I ask, we in Africa started adopting that we also can do it if they do it. Africa first.
Africa first.
At least there was America first, so it's Africa first. But are we behaving Africa first?
Let's start from Nigeria first.
No, but it's an Africa summit. Okay. So.
Well, you know, actually, interestingly, that's the phase that echoes through the Nairobi summit, carrying the promise of unity, economic independence, a stronger continental voice on the global stage. You know, the challenge that I was having, you know, with all of that is, does Africa first actually mean anything for African countries? During that summit, a good number of countries, of the 30 or thereabout of them at the summit, they were reinforcing and reiterating the need for Africa to bond and all of that. I counted, okay? I counted the number of India, Africa, Japan, Africa, this one, Africa, Saudi Africa summits that I've held since 1964. I counted 14. Oh, the one in 1964 was an African summit held in Dar es Salaam by Africans. But we've had Russia, Africa, Germany, Africa, UK, Africa, US, Africa, Japan, Africa, China, Africa, India, Africa, Germany, Africa summits. How far so far?
You must have mentioned France, I'm sure. That was...
Well, there's now France summits, France, Africa.
Yeah.
So the question that we're asking this morning is, how about an Africa
summit? Yeah.
Where, because at the end of the day, everybody in the world knows Africa is a bride and that everybody wants to exploit.
Yeah.
The question is Africa aware of that? If Africa is aware of that, are the individual Africans that open up Africa to its vulnerabilities aware of what we are doing to ourselves? That's part of the conversation.
Yes, and just before we go into the conversation, you know, we were speaking to our business editor yesterday in Ijomekwa, who actually attended that summit in Kigali. And she was saying, in Nairobi rather, and, you know, she was saying that there was a time when someone was, you know, she raised an issue that at the airport, Africa, in the two African countries at the airport, that they were asking fellow Africans for their visas and, you know, entry documentation, while Europeans had it visa-free. And she said, here lies the problem. We're the ones that are, you know, treated...
We don't even trust ourselves.
Yes.
That conversation we had, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, with Professor Ilaro Yinka, where we heard that to do business with Accra is way costlier than to do business with Spain. And it is clear that Spain is farther from Nigeria than Accra, Ghana is. In fact, I think it was Dangote who was talking about moving goods from Nigeria to Benin Republic. Yeah. Next door neighbor. Anyway, let's have a conversation this morning with two gentlemen joining us. Obafemi George is a political scientist. He's here with us in the studio. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Again.
Good morning. Good to see you.
And we have a senior lecturer at the African Leadership School, I think, at King's College London. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me start with you, Mr. George. Is Africa first? First of all, what's your take on that France-Africa summit? They call it the Africa Forward Summit. But a good number of stuff that was said there was talking about the need, Africans telling Africans that they needed to come together. What's your assessment of all of, what's your take in all the conversation that took place there?
So, two conferences held this week, which I consider quite significant. The Nairobi conference and the Kigali conference, the Africa CEO Forum. And I think both conferences were speaking to the same issue. And you actually can't, separate both conferences. To start with, it's been said that Africa is the next frontier. And for certain obvious and strategic reasons. Number one, in terms of the population. Presently, we're almost 1.5 billion people in Africa. And it's been said that by 2050, Africa would have like 2.5 billion people. Africa is growing at 2.5% annually. While in Europe, I mean, population growth, as in fact, in some countries in Europe, is actually declining, it's negative. Most European countries probably are growing maybe like 0.4, 0.1, 0.5%. So what that means is that Africa is the labor force of the future. Because that 1.5 billion, a good chunk are between the ages of 18 and 30. So that is strategic in terms of labor force, number one. Number two, today, Africa boasts of 65% of the arable land in the entire world. So what that also tells you that strategically, when it comes to food sufficiency, Africa is the place to watch for the future. Number three, Africa has 30% of the world's global mineral deposit. Today, Africa has the largest gold deposit. So many minerals. So whichever way you skin it, you know that Africa is the future. And that's what explains why the Russians are interested, Europe is interested, Asia is interested, and all of that. Now, let's bring it down to what happened this week. When I had that speech, Africa First, for me, it's what I would describe, you know, it reminded me of what I read in history when the drive for self-rule started in the 40s. The great Zik of Africa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, made popular a Spanish phrase called political risorgimento. And what that meant was that, you know what, there's a reawakening. Yeah. So what we've seen this week is a reawakening of the spirit of Pan-Africanism. And really, the last time I ever felt like this, I mean, was in the mid-70s. By the way, I was 2 years old then, but I mean, from history, from what we read in history, the last time that a leader would speak like that was when our own General Munitala Muhammad went to Addis Ababa and he gave a speech at the then OAU, now AU, and he said, Africa has come of age. That statement, I mean, resonated across Africa. And you saw many African countries rising up. I mean, that's when you have indigenization policy. Africa began to look inwards. So that political statement created an economic wave. Unfortunately, Muritala was killed. So we lost that leadership. And that trend, I mean, nosedive. It wasn't the only one killed. You have some African presidents that were taken out. Okay, that movement was stalled. What we see happening right now is that Nigeria is providing that leadership again. And we hope to see, I mean, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that this is sustained and it is backed up by actions across the African continent. And there's no other country that is capable of providing that leadership apart from Nigeria. Let me remind you that about 20 years ago, it was said prophetically that if you look at the map of Africa, that it's like a gun, and that South Africa looks like the barrel, and that Nigeria looks like the trigger. And so therefore, for Africa to succeed, that Nigeria is actually the trigger, and that South Africa is the barrel. And today, South Africa is the largest economy, followed by Nigeria. We are the most populated country, I mean, black nation on the entire face of the earth. So when you look at those things, it tells you, I mean, where Nigeria stands as a leader in Africa. And you know, they've said that once Nigeria gets it right, Africa will get it right.
There are so many questions in the response that you have given, but let me take Dr. Ismail's opening comments on this, because the challenge now is, first of all, you know, Dr. Ismail, what's your take? Because while the African countries, African leaders were talking at both summits, you know, in the course of the week, one of the questions that subsists is, do those African countries come together themselves to compare notes and say, okay, if we are going to move forward together, this is the direction we have to take? We know that not many African countries can stand on their own and say, we're not going to take anything from the West. We're not going to, you know, they don't have a hard line anti-West or anti-West or a West resistance power stance. But there are and there are other countries, including in North Africa, who are having a kind of, and South Africa as well, who have a balanced, view of, okay, yes, Africa can do it, but we still need the support of the East, of the West, of Asia, and all of that from time to time. What's your take on this whole dynamics?
Program anchors and to also the first speaker. Yes, I completely agree that Africa is a complete continent. Africa has everything it needs for its development. But of course, Africa does not exist in isolation. Of course, you go back to centuries of slave trade, colonial conquest, and colonial rule and neo-colonial penetration of Africa since independence. You will understand that Africa, there's something about Africa that attracts external actors into the continent. Let me pivot back to the France-Africa Summit in Nairobi, as well as the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali. I think anything that brings African countries, African presidents together are quite, is quite welcome. But of course, like, you said in your opening pitch, it's not the first time that we are going to be having this African summit, Japan, Africa, US, Africa, China, Africa, France, Africa, UK, Africa, anything. Everybody is summiting with Africa. So we've had this summit diplomacy for the past 10, 12 years now, or even longer than that, starting with the FOCA, with China. One thing, two key things of note here are actually three things. Number one is that there is a sense in terms of Africa having a collective, bargaining as a collective. That collectivity is the most important ingredient. Many times external actors have used divide and rule to penetrate Africa to ensure that Africa does not have a single bargaining voice, whether it comes to EPA agreement with the EU or any of these international agreements on climate change, climate justice, name it. So that lack of a collective voice, and it's always going to be very difficult to have 54 countries speaking with one voice. It's always going to be, a very difficult task. Look at the EU, 27, 28 countries, always struggling to come, to a consensus position on issues. So, anything that will help Africa to have a collective bargaining stance on major global issues is always going to be welcome. Secondly, the Africa First mantra, why it is good as an interesting slogan to take away from the summit, but more work needs to be done. What is the strategy behind this Africa First pronunciation? It is not the first time we'll be hearing nice slogans, as this, but there has to be intentionality. There has to be a deliberate strategy that is developed and worked hard on the part of Nigeria, bringing on board other key regional powerhouses on the continent, the South Africa of this world, Algeria or Egypt of this world. Morocco is coming on very strong as well. Kenya is, is probably also there as well. And maybe even Rwanda, because of, the way Rwanda has created itself as a regional hub for innovation on the continent. So there has to be a deliberate strategy. So what is the strategy behind this Africa First? What is the strategy? Third is that at this point in time, the world is changing. We can see all the geopolitical changes, going on in the world, the emergence of China, the resurgence of Russia, the emergence of new medium powers, projecting influence, Turkey of this world, the Iran of this world, the Brazils of this world. So all of these things are happening. And we begin to ask, where are African institutions, the AU, the ECOWAS of this world, the SADC of this world, the EACs of this world, the IGAD of this world? Where are African institutions in relation to this Africa First? What has happened to the extent that these institutions that have been created as vectors of Pan-Africanism have not been able to achieve this, collective bargaining approach to major global issues? So So while Nigeria can provide, the intellectual leadership and, mobilize, this has to be connected with existing institutions on the continent on the one hand. But more importantly, the government may be talking about Africa first, but we need to also ask, what about Africans first? There is a difference between Africa first and Africans first.
And you have drawn yourself into my trap, Dr. Ismail, because I was going to actually wanted you to escape that question and attack Mr. George with it. But since you have taken it, and I'm going to take it on up with you. Recently, and I mean in recent time, there's another wave of xenophobic attack in South Africa, for instance. And it would seem like the government of the day in South Africa isn't speaking much about it. Hence, the call for foreigners to leave their country continues to hold sway. And in fact, a good number of people in Nigeria are already calling on Nigerians to come back home. That the federal government should send an airpiece there to go bring Nigerians back home. That's one. We have, in recent history as well, had cases where Ghanaians are telling Nigerians, not the government of Ghana, and not the government of South Africa, are telling Nigerians to go back home. So, spot on your question of how about Africans first? So perhaps that conversation should start from the people inside of each country. It's been a long time since I heard Nigerians say that a group of nationals must go back to their country. The last time I heard about it was Ghana must go, and that was in the 70s or 80s. That's quite a long time ago, some 40 years now. I don't think I've heard that in recent times. So I'm wondering, if when you're asking, how about Africans first, who is supposed to take the gauntlet? It's the Africans that become heads of government.
Yes, thank you. If you look at the Ghana Must Go episode in Nigeria in late 70s into the early 80s, you look at the examples you've cited in Ghana, in South Africa, maybe one or two, maybe also there have been also some anti-Nigerian issues in Kenya and perhaps Uganda. There are two or three key things that always, underline such or that precede such events. One, when countries are struggling economically, it is always easy to scapegoat foreigners. You see that happening now in America and Europe when it comes to immigration. So national governments tend to deflect blame to foreigners when it comes to the issues of poverty and lack of opportunities for people when people are not able to get by in terms of jobs and all the basic essentials of life. So it is essentially a development issue, a development problem that tends to manifest itself as these xenophobic, attacks and all of that. And of course, we also know issues of crime and all of that. There are some of our fellow Nigerians, going to other countries, being culturally insensitive by trying to install, kings and all of that in foreign land. So, but all of these things are contextualized when it comes to domestic struggles, domestic politics in those countries. But there is a bigger issue that we need to address. And I'm going to, give you a pointed example of that. You go to the border crossings, like, Lagos, semi-border crossing, and all the other border crossings between Nigeria and Cameroon, for example. Look at the amount of suffering it takes for people to cross the border. Look at the amount of extortion that happens at this border. Look at the amount of checks that happen at these borders. How easy or uneasy is it for fellow Africans to travel across the border to transact business, across the border? We hear of horror stories, even at the highest level, people like Dangote and the rest struggling to be able to, to transact business. The issue came up in terms of cross-border payment and all the other things that, that have been spoken about in the recent summit in Kigali and the rest. Even as an African, you travel from Nigeria to Benin, you have to go and buy another SIM card. Or if you put your phone on roaming, you are going to pay exorbitant, prices. So there are important institutional, inhibitions that are, that continue to militate against, cross-border Africans to African,
and which is also underscoring, the challenge of the challenges you are posing about this whole Africa First thing. Well, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Because more than just a slogan, there are some low-hanging fruit that if governments in the respective African countries are genuinely interested, there are some things that they can easily get done, that they don't need any prompting.
We'll definitely get to that. I want to quickly take Mr. George up on one particular thing that he said earlier. You said that Africa has a tremendous labor force. Wouldn't we rather call it human capital as opposed to labor force? Here is why. In the next 10 years, artificial intelligence is going to be a lot more of the labor force than the human. Many people would rather, automobile industries all over the world, they use more of robotics for their labor force, if I can put it that way, than they do human beings, because for whatever reason, it's cheaper, it's more efficient, it's more accurate and all of that, whatever the issues are. So in that light, you also cited that Europe, some other countries of the world, and some other continents of the world, they are losing their aged, their younger generation, and the aged ones are unavailable and unable to do some things and all of that. Consequently, they're asking Africans to come over, and that's been, mostly welcome. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, particularly in the light of this whole Africanization agenda.
On one hand, I had your question. On the other hand, you've also answered my question for me.
Okay.
Because whichever way you skin it, yes, we see the prospects and the threat of artificial intelligence to the human labor force, but you still need human beings.
But we need fewer of them.
You will still need human beings, and that's why even Europe and parts of North America like Canada are trying to engineer a kind of a deliberate migration for Africans, because once your labor force begins to shrink, no matter the level of humanoids and whatever you're creating, after a point in time, it begins to affect the productivity of your country. So you can call it labor force, you can call it human capacity development, whichever way, it is strength. Because that labor force is also your market. Because that productive labor force, which today, they're in their 20s, what that means is that in the next 20, 30 years, you're going to have a lot of Africans who are getting married, who are giving birth to children, who require schools, who require clothes, food. That's a huge market. So you just don't look at it alone from the perspective of the labor force. You also see a market in there. That's why there's nothing you produce, you bring it to Nigeria, Africa, that you sell. There's a market for it. Now, for me, the question then should be, what are the challenges? Because yes, Pan-Africanism is good. Africa first, it sounds good. But how do we actually get there in real terms?
So what are the conversations that should be had? I'm sorry, Joke. Yes. What are the conversations that should be had? Here, there's Morocco. Yes. There's Algeria.
Correct.
There is Egypt.
Yes.
We are not all under one religion.
Yeah. But mind you,
just a second. You will answer all of them together.
Okay.
We are not all under one, on one religion. We're not all at the same economic level, social level, intellectual level. And every country wants to boast of its own. Africa is not one country. Unbeknownst to many young Americans and Europeans, Africa is not what country is this map of Africa? There is no such thing. What flag is this? This flag is the flag of... There is no such thing. Unfortunately, many of them don't know. So for those of us who know, How do we go around this thing? You may want to speak to some of the issues raised by Dr. Ismail earlier about this Africans against Africa kind of thing. You know, we don't hear much of that in North America. In North Africa, you may want to speak to that as well. So, and in the light of all of this insecurity and all of those things, if Africa First is not just going to be a narrative or a slogan, if it's going to be a lived experience, which he's cited Murtala Mohammed speaking about, Abiola also tried to do the same thing, and here we are now talking about, you know, President Tinubu and the president of Kenya, you know, talking about the same thing. So, where do we go from here?
Everything rises and falls on leadership. A leader must personify the movement. A leader must not just provide that agenda, but it must be seen to be driving it. And if you ask me, I think what President Tinubu did in Kigali signals that he wants to take the lead and that Nigeria is going to take the lead. 30 years ago, how many Nigerian businesses do you find in Africa? Perhaps none. But today you have the Access Bank all over Africa. You have UBA all over Africa. I mean, Nollywood has taken over the entire Africa. I just heard about 3 days ago that PalmPay is actually the biggest fintech company now in Africa. So you have Nigeria dominating the fintech space. You have Dangote setting up cement factories all over Africa. That's where it starts from. It's from that leadership. That's how you begin to break the barrier, one country at a time, one industry at a time. We have done it with Nollywood. Now, we're doing it in the financial sector. So now, we're about to do it in industry, in manufacturing. That's how you begin to break the barrier. Now, what I want to see, to be honest, in the next, perhaps the next decade, is to see how we can integrate Africa infrastructure-wise. The founders of Pan-Africanism in the 70s, when they created this idea, they had the vision that Africa should be connected. I'll give you an example. There's what you call the Trans-Africa Highway, which was conceived in the 70s, that you should be able to drive from Dakar. There should be a highway from Dakar that will take you to Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, to Calabar, to Cameroon, to Gabon, down all the way to South Africa. But president after president forgot that vision. The Lagos-Calabar highway that is being constructed right now by President Tinubu is actually meant to be the portion of Nigeria in that vision. So when you have such, so if Nigeria completes Lagos-Calabar, we want to see Lagos-Ghana. We want to see Ghana, Sierra Leone. That's where it starts from. And that's why I keep saying that Nigeria seems to be providing that leadership. We also want to be able to see integration when it comes to traveling. Joke, it's easier for me. I can get to London today by 6 p.m. I can get to Paris today by 6 p.m. I might not be able to get to Uganda until Monday, because it's easier for me to fly to Europe than to fly to an African country. So how then can we have commerce? How then can we have Africa first if it's difficult for me to go from Nigeria to Tanzania? And it's easier for me to go from Nigeria to Atlanta. So those are the deliberate steps we now want to begin to see. Because until you have free movement, you know, at times when I travel to Europe, I land in Paris. And I rent a car in Paris, and I drive from Paris to Brussels. Each free. I drive from Brussels to Amsterdam. In fact, I won't even know when I've crossed into Holland. It's on my TomTom that changes that, oh, I've crossed from Belgium into Holland. You can't drive like that in Africa. And that's what we need for us to be able to actually integrate African economy. So this African free trade area, whatever that we've signed, beyond the agreement, beyond the rhetorics, we need to now begin to create deliberate steps so that Africa can trade with Africa. It will surprise you that intra-trade Africa, as at last year, as in businesses within African countries, stood at maybe, from records, about maybe 230 or 220 billion US dollars. In other words, that's the volume of business 54 nations did among themselves. On the contrary, with Europe alone, Africa did about 350 billion euros. With Asia alone, we did over 400 billion US dollars. By the time you put the business Africa did with Europe, with Asia, with America, it's almost $1 trillion US dollars. In other words, we are doing business with the world more than we are doing with ourselves because we lack the infrastructure that connects African countries together. Road infrastructures, air infrastructures.
Even soft infrastructure, because what Joke just said now about our colleague going to Kigali and seeing how, the West, anyone with a different skin than black gets an easier pass.
My father-in-law went to an African country. I will not mention the country. He's a professor. He was there 4 years ago to give a speech. He was invited 3 months ago, and he was denied visa in an African country. And it was actually on the website of the African country that 4 countries have been excluded from visa application, including Nigeria.
Okay. Well, Dr. Ismail, it doesn't seem that this challenge is going to go anywhere. So perhaps the question is, how do we take this further? Thankfully, you are in one of those countries that have had a UK-Africa summit. The question will be, how far so far? So what are your thoughts? Perhaps, there are certain conversations Africa should be having with itself. Let's begin to close with that.
Yeah, thanks. I think there is the ideal and there is the reality. The ideal from the 50s when the whole conversations about Pan-Africanism started and institutionalized through the OAU and later on the AU. The ideal remains to unite Africa. The United States of Africa project, people like former President Nkrumah and the rest have articulated that vision. But the reality of it now has to be based on pragmatism. We have to be sector by sector, agreement and make things work. We have to build this, Africa collective on a case by case, issue by issue, sector by sector basis. That I think is one. Secondly, I align with much of what Mr. George has said, but I want to throw in, a bit of caution into it. Yes, the official statistics might talk about 230 billion intra-African trade, but I bet you that does not capture the informal business activities to the scale that it is, is taking place. Many of us who are researchers, academics who study these issues, we are of the view that intra-African trade is a lot more than that, probably triple that. When you talk about Nigeria GDP and productivity in Nigeria, we can have a debate as to how much does it capture the informal economic activities on the continent. But be that as it may, I completely agree that all the bottlenecks that hinder inter-African trade, inter-African air linkages and travels and all of these issues around passport and all of, there have been in the last 10 years, there have been initiatives, One Africa Passport and all of this to break all of this, but none of these things have really worked. So what we are seeing now is bilateral arrangement. Nigeria, Rwanda talking about visa-free, South Africa and Ghana and some countries, or Zimbabwe and Ghana. So if that is the way to go, let's begin to do that rather than the grandiose one.
Okay.
Then more importantly, I think it's important for us as Nigerians and for the government of Nigeria. President Tinubu has articulated this Africa First, Nigeria First vision, which is fine. There has to be the serious hard work of developing a strategy of what would this mean in real life? What would this mean in practical sense? Who are the key stakeholders that Nigeria need to bring on board? How can Nigeria connect this vision with the African Union, with ECOWAS and the rest? And my final point is this, and it might sound funny, but I think it's also time Nigeria convened a Nigeria-Africa summit, whereby Nigeria is gathering all the other African countries, in the same way that Turkey, the same way that France, in the same way that the US, UK is gathering.
I don't think it is funny. I think it's a highly.
Nigeria has to assert itself.
Absolutely.
That look, we have the labor force. Nigeria, the soft power through not just Nollywood but also Afrobeat. We have our banks are all over the place. Yeah. Dangote, Bua, and all our entrepreneurs, industrialists are now spreading their tentacles. Nigeria is genuinely going to Nigeria has to convene a Nigerian African summit to have a dialogue to say this is Nigeria's vision, this is where we are headed.
I'm wondering if I wonder if Mr. George.
So that has to be part of the conversation for us as Nigerians and for the Nigerian government to show that.
Well, the president has begun to do that talk, but I wonder if you agree with that, the Nigeria-Africa summit.
I agree partly, but we need to tread with caution.
Okay. And
I'll tell you why. I love the leadership position, the leadership posture of President Tinubu with the speeches that he gave in Kigali and in Nairobi. However, I would want to see him drive that agenda not as a Nigerian agenda, but as an African Union agenda. I would want to see him hide behind the toga of African Union to drive the agenda. Well, you know why? You know why? Naturally, if you've been to so many African countries, especially the Francophone, they feel threatened by the mere presence of a Nigerian. Well, there's a rivalry, there is envy.
I apologize, Mr. George. Let them maintain that envy. Maybe it will drive us to do what we need to do.
You know why we need to tread cautiously? Because you need cooperation. You don't want confrontation.
Absolutely.
And the way you can get them to cooperate with us,
they will take our cooperation. You know why? When they needed us for ECOMOG, we were there. When they needed us for their security, we were there. We are humble.
We need to
go.
We
will be humble. Let's be humble. Let's not put it in their faces.
Thank you so much.
I disagree, though.
We'll have part 2 of this debate. Part 2 is crazy. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Olawale Ismail is a senior lecturer at the King's College London, as well as Obafemi George, who is a political scientist. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
The next conversation is an African conversation. No, a Nigerian conversation. In fact, a very Nigerian conversation, a conversation that started in 1959. Find out what that is about when we return.
And you're welcome back. And now to our very Nigerian conversation, as Ayo has put it. And it's all about all of us here.
Yeah.
And,
all of us that you always...
That you're seeing.
You always look at. For a very long time, we've been talking about... Nigeria's digital switchover and all of that.
Yeah.
And we understand.
So? Yeah.
Yes. Now the federal government seems to have fixed a specific date for the full nationwide digital switchover rollout. So the question we're asking now is...
I think it's about a month from now. June 17th?
Yes. Today's 16th. Yes, today's 16th. So exactly 1 month from now, if you are working with a radio station or a TV station, you will be digitized. So we'll find out more of that this morning with the Director General and CEO, National Broadcasting Commission, Mr. Charles Ebuebo. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's been a while.
Thank you. Nice to see you again, Ayo.
I would have done what my bosses told me some time ago, that when you are a broadcaster, you don't call anybody, you call the person by the first name, but I don't know if... I don't want us to get a fine for that word. So I'll maintain my decorum. So, well, again, good to see you. And by the way, congratulations is in order. This digital switchover thing, we've been talking about this since 2012. Yeah. From where you sit today, what have been the challenges of this full digital switchover, and what's the story so far? Where are we on that matter now?
Okay. Basically, we had a few challenges, At As of today, we have launched, on the digital switchover, we've launched 8 states, which is a far cry from the timelines and the projections that were put in place since 2015. But what we have done now is to go back to the drawing board as the NBC to look at all the challenges. You know, some of the challenges which we identified were lack of a binding timeline, you know, for switchover. There were some switchover in some states, 8 states in all, but it was far behind, you know, in terms of the timeline. We had sporadic funding, you know, and also a national structure was not put in place all at once. So we went back to the drawing board, and considering the fact that technology has evolved over time, we decided to go by way of satellites, to utilize the NIGCOMSAT satellites to be able to reach all Nigerians all at once. So wherever you are today, rather than wait for your state to be launched with the antecedent cost of launching terrestrial towers around the country, we will get the signals all at once. So as we speak today, if you have a satellite receiver connected, lined up to the NIGCOMSAT satellite and connected to your TV, you receive 43 channels as at today. And on or before the day of launch, we want to scale it up to 100 channels. That's what we have achieved till today.
Well, one of the inhibitions we've had over time is that of infrastructure of the radio and TV stations themselves. Some of them didn't have digital equipment to facilitate the switchover. Yes. So I don't know if you are planning to do what happened in the telecom sector, where now if you have a wired phone, we're wondering from what planet you are. that's what the plan is right now. Have we also factored in the capacity of the radio and TV stations all over the country to be able to accommodate or stand? Do they have the infrastructure to stand on the digital switchover?
Oh yes, pretty much so. So if I take you a bit to the provisions of the white paper, the roles of a content producer were separated from that of a broadcast platform. So if you're a radio station today, if you're a TV channel, all you need to do is get your digital stream to NIGCOMSAT, and you leave the rest to them. They turn it around, take it up to satellite, and bring it down. Now, on the part of the consumer, all you need is a decoder which has the capacity to receive that digital stream, and you're good to go. You have clarity of channels. Like we say, we're scaling it up to 100. And this, I will want to point out something. These decoders are not the high-end decoders. It's free to air. It does not have encryption or all of that software that will cost, make the box very costly. What you need is a simple box that is free to air, unencrypted, that can receive the signal. So basically we're digital, and that does not entail significant investment by the TV or radio stations. As they are presently, we're pretty much there.
Right. Yeah, so be that as it may, you spoke earlier about, working with NIGCOMSAT, to get this done quickly and improve. And we just have about a month to get things going. So how will this pivot, safeguard broadcast stability, especially during severe weather conditions? Often when the clouds are grey, signals often disappear from some of our TV screens.
Okay, so first, what I would like to point out, 2 things. First thing is that the NBC and NIGCOMSAT and the stakeholders, including the content producers, and NIGCOMSAT on the technology side, all the stakeholders, we have been working quite a lot before we went public with the news. So a lot of those challenges, we have factored in redundancies and option B, where there's a failure in the initial, structure. But secondly, I would like to point out that regardless of the technology you use, so for example, if you're having a terrestrial broadcast and you have a mountain in front of you, you're going to have some issues accessing signals, for which they would have to put in a repeater station to be able to focus on your location. Now, for free TV, the big picture which we have put in place, there are two strategies. We'll have the satellite coverage, which covers 100% signal distribution across Nigeria. We also have the free TV app. So if by chance you're not able to receive that, you can easily switch to your phones, any digital device. People have downloaded it on their TV sets, and you still have access to the stream. So we've put in redundancies. The NIGCOMSAT signal is strongly concentrated on Nigeria. So again, that mitigates to a very high level the issue of reception when there's a weather storm or things like that. So yes, we have redundancies in place.
Let me allow you to please allay the fears of some people. Because when we talk about anything digital, the assumption is that YouTube is also digital. So if you want to help allay the fears of some people, if this has any relationship with content, because you mentioned content producers, and then you hear content creators there now. Most of them are putting their content on YouTube and all other social platforms, which of course are digital. I know that they don't really have a direct relationship, but we want to speak to that briefly so their fears are allayed.
Okay, so let me tell you what was in place previously and what strategy, why we decided to adopt the strategy now. Previously, free TV focused more on technology and the delivery to the consumer. It didn't talk about the commercial model. Now, to the question you asked, why, how, or if I may reframe the question, how are we going to incorporate those who place their content on the digital platforms like YouTube and all of that? Now, you agree with me, it was the absence of a delivery platform for Nigerians, that you have a lot of content providers, creators, and all of that placing their content on digital platforms, And now what we have, that's one of the focus we have, to be able to bring those same creators to this stream. Now, what we've done, the first stream, is to put in free to air, right, where you receive by satellite and also by the app. We're looking at the next stage where we have specially curated content that we would invite those who are on YouTube and other platforms to be able to curate content, and place it on the application. So that way, the audience they have on YouTube, they can also replicate that on the free TV app without having to use the so much internet access for that. Again, you would agree with me that if we build a market around this, at some point we would invite the telcos to be able to provide a very reduced sum regarding delivery for free TV. Because when you have a huge number of people, you have a ready market. It will make a very strong business sense to approach the telcos at that time to be able to provide, a drastically reduced access fee when you talk about data. So our strategy we're putting in place is to incorporate all the ecosystem, if you will, whether it is terrestrial, DTH, which is satellite broadcast, whether it is the online IP, mobile. We're looking at all of that, and we're incorporating everyone. All of Nigerian, the creative sector, we have them in mind when putting this together, and we would adapt this to be able to bring them in, if you will, and have a holistic system for Nigeria.
Okay, just to also clear the air, because if people find that it is easier for them to, and more economical, more beneficial, more profitable to use a free TV platform over a YouTube platform, they definitely will embrace it. But then there may also be fears of, what's the word we use now, of being monitored, of being checked, of censorship, yes.
Access fees?
Yeah, because there are those who, on YouTube, they just put it there, and anyone who wants it will go there. But minimal, if any, censorship. It's now self-censorship a lot on YouTube. I'm not sure they'll be able to do the same thing on the free TV app. You may want to speak to that and, you know, maybe probably also tell us what the advantages or benefits are for those content creators who may prefer that.
Okay. So first, I want to clear an assumption that if you are on YouTube and you're not monitored, you're not regulated, what has happened with the advent of online platforms is that the platforms themselves have become like gatekeepers. So you agree with me, there are certain things you put on YouTube and it will offend their policy, you know, framework, and they'll pull down your page or your account, as the case is. And secondly, I want to say that regardless of whether on your YouTube or you're on terrestrial or satellites, you're being monitored. All over the world, regulatory arms like the NBC, regulatory agencies monitor what you're doing. And even if you do not fall under the broadcast law as it is today, there are other regulatory agencies like NIDA, like Data Protection, like the Communications Commission, like the NCC, the Copyright Commission. You do have agencies which regulate speech or audiovisuals as it is. But now, coming back to the question of monitoring, very well so, we're trying to push an ecosystem that is clean. Nobody is trying to stifle freedom of speech or all of that. That's a misconception, and gravely so. We're just trying to say, be professional in delivery, whether you're talking about news, whether you're talking about you're putting out any kind of audiovisual out there. There are rules that guard, you know, even before the NBC, there are laws around libel, slander, all of that, cyberbullying and all of that. You do fall under some regulatory regime. So what we're saying, it is very good when you have someone who checks on your content and advise you on what to put out so you do not fall on the wrong side of the law. But you have no fears when it comes to free TV. We're putting up what is already in existence, and you're basically not going to see much in terms of change. Just obey the rules and you're good to go.
Right. So the NBC is offering an initial 18-month free broadcast window for stations that commit to 60% local content. What measures are in place to help smaller, regional stations fund this heavy local content requirement? Because broadcasting is quite expensive.
Absolutely.
Before the regulated rate and rate card takes effect in January 2028.
Okay. So let me backtrack on that a bit. What we're trying to do, first and foremost, the free TV big picture strategy is to try to create one platform, one national platform that is built for Nigerian creative sector. So if I will give you by way of example, like I stated in one of the interviews, back in the day, we have NTA. We still have NTA with all the stations around the country. Now, if you do take a flagship program or you come up with some, program, you're able to take it to NTA and they would give you national visibility all at once, which puts you in a better position to talk to advertisers, since free-to-air platforms rely massively on advertising revenue. We're replicating the same. So now, when we put a 60% benchmark for producers, is the fact that we want more creativity. That links also to the fact that we're putting those 6 geopolitical studios. We want to drive creativity. Nigerians are not devoid of creativity. Whether you go on YouTube, you see we're really holding our space. Whether you talk about music, Nollywood, we want to do the same for television. So the reason why we put the studios is to allow producers at a very reduced price to walk into a studio. You don't need to fly all the way to Abuja or Lagos or Kano. Look for the studio closest to you, book your time, create your content. If it's good enough, we're going to be viewing it. will give you a platform, and all of a sudden you have viewership and you have a better conversation. That will bring up more content, in other language like Efik, Nupe, other languages aside from the 3 major languages. So we're trying to drive, that creativity. A few stations are already doing it individually, but this is a national push with a focus to be able to achieve that. So we're not placing the burden on the content creators alone. We are enabling all the relevant sectors to be able to achieve that purpose.
Okay, let me stoke a bit of fire, Mr. Ebuebo.
As you normally do.
Yes, oh, thank you very much for the vote of confidence. Netflix is a platform. Prime Video is a platform. And you would agree that to a large extent, a good number of Nigerians are on those platforms, and those platforms take a lot of money from Nigerians, even though the monies don't look much. And there are those who would argue whether this initiative is capable of competing with what we have on those platforms. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. The studios you've created, amazing initiative. But there are those who will tell you that studios are no longer just in rooms or halls. They're now in cities. They create a whole town. Gunde Film Village is one. CAP now has a film village. There's another one around it somewhere in Oyo State as well. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how we compete globally, because unless we meet the appetite of Nigerians, the ones that they're already used to on the Netflixes of this world, on the Prime Videos of this world, and the funding that those platforms sometimes give to them, I don't know how far we'll be able to go with this wonderful initiative, I must say, that you have. Okay,
thank you. All right, let me again draw a distinction or some clarity. And in doing that, I would like to compare apple for apples. So the platforms you have indicated are OTT platforms riding on the back of the internet, for which you need access, all of that. Aside from that, these are premium content within a closed network, which you have to pay to access. Now, free TV is a different strategy or platform. It is free to air. What that means is that it's a one-off cost where if you don't already have a satellite receiver in terms of a decoder, you just go buy one there. It's not too expensive, and that's the one-off cost with your dish. And you're able to access for the first time 40, right now as we speak, 43 channels, but before we launch, all things being equal, we'll have 100 channels. That's the first time it's happening. Number two, while the premium platforms you have mentioned, like Netflix and Prime Video, are curated for those who can afford the internet and all of that, we are focused on the unreached in Nigeria. First, bear it in mind, this is a platform by Nigeria for Nigeria. Right now, look at it like this. When we did with the 8 states we have in place right now, we're able to reach only less than or thereabout 25%. But with the initiative we're going by satellite, we're reaching everyone at once. All you need is a one-time purchase and you're good to go. Number two, you would agree with me that these initiatives, just think about your village, my village, anywhere, all those rural areas we see on TV, where you have a few huts and all that. What if they have TV and they can see the world? They see the same standard of content, the same standard of education, entertainment, news that you and I see in Lagos. It ups the ante, There's more awareness, there's more education, there's more, the desire to get better education and see the world. You raise the bar, basically. So we're trying to, we're not competing in a nutshell with what you're saying with Netflix. No, we're reaching the rest of Nigeria, number one, the whole of Nigeria rather. Number two, we are bringing together all of Nigerian creativity under one platform and be able to project it to the world. Number 3, with audience measurement and the studios and all of that, we're putting Nigerian creatives in a better place to be able to monetize their content. And basically, the sky is the limit, as the word goes.
Well, I guess with the Nick Comsat, the sky, we've gone beyond the sky, you know, in a manner of speaking.
We're in space.
But let me talk about something a little different. Well, my co-presenter is my boss in this particular area, so let me just be cautious so that I can speak the right word, otherwise I get a query. Now, you recently emphasized that presenters must not state opinions or facts or bully, you know, their guests. Then it begs the question, what specific framework or independent oversight body would determine if a presenter has crossed the line before sanctions are applied?
Okay, so it's a good question, even if we're leaving the issue of the SO, but I would answer you. First, I would like to state for all clarity, right? We have not come out with something new than what already exists. We're talking about the 6th Amendment of the NB Code, right? The Nigerian Broadcasting Code. We have not reinvented or gone to pull out something that does not exist. What we have found out is that most broadcasters have either jettisoned the code or they are not even aware of it. And I will tell you this, we've had incidences where we've invited stations, presenters, you know, that have flouted the rules, and we simply made the code available to them. Some of them, you know, would argue, but when they then see the provisions, they would apologize and write an apology letter, and we let it go. But what we've seen on a massive scale is that especially when it comes to politics and all that, people just jettison the rules and just put out their emotions regardless of the consequences. The unintended consequences, really. You raise the political discussions, diversity, misinformation, all of that. So basically, we're bringing up the rules to remind people to work professionally, follow the ethics of the profession. I'll give you an example about what you just said. So in the code, it is quoted that when you're handling a political discussion on TV, you should be a peacemaker. That is the issue of neutrality that we're saying. But in this case, you have cases where even the presenters themselves, sometimes without guests, most times with guests, and they would not stick to the rules. Instead, you find out they either invite guests who they align their views with without presenting the opposing view. So they don't invite the other side. And then they focus on one aspect of the discussion and then go on with their emotions and just go on without even facts. Facts are not substantiated. They are not authentic facts. They're just emotions. Most times, presenters, again, pull things from online sources without verification, and they just put it out there as the truth. And most times, they do not go back and fact-check. The damage is done. So NBC, right, as an agency that regulates, is just standing up to its mandate to say, be professional. We're not talking about trying to stifle speech or guiding what you say. Follow the rules and you will not get it wrong, in my words.
Follow the rules, really. And so...
I mean, the NBC code is out there, and it would amaze you. A lot of the presenters, analysts, they have not even read it.
Right. And
have not. We've invited a lot.
Yes, and going now that, you know, we're going into elections, well, I mean, we can already feel the fever pitch, you know, almost readiness of political parties, and of course the electoral umpire as well. I know that usually at this time of year, the NBC usually reiterates, reaches out to media organizations, putting out the NBC code on reportage on this very issue that we've just spoken about. So, you know, what are you going to be doing differently, apart from stating the facts of the law on electoral reportage, you know, and fact-checking, as you have said it? What is there any other thing that you're going to introduce to ensure that media houses are guided properly, journalists are guided properly, so that it's not a case of you're breaking the law and you're being fined, but that's just that we ensure that we don't even just break any law, we don't go there, everybody does things as they're supposed to do. You know, sometimes it's like maybe, you know, when you're traveling on the road, the policemen just wait at the junction of the one way, and there's no sign there. They just wait for you to take the one way, and then they arrest you or whatever, instead of guiding you on why you shouldn't go that way in the first place, if you get what I mean.
Okay. So to answer your question, we'll be more strategic in our engagement. You know, what we've been doing before now and still doing, for example, when there was the the recent elections in the West, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the time, we would have an engagement where we invite all radio stations, TV broadcasters to one location. We will reiterate our rules. We would engage them on some of our findings, what they're doing and all of that, you know, and be able to tell them that, point out aspects where they're wrong and that they should be on their guard when it comes to election reporting, so that we don't give false narrative. I will give you an example. For example, we have a habit, I've seen a habit where broadcasters, licensees will report election results when it is by law, by INEC laws, it is only INEC that is allowed to do that. Now, when you go to a broadcast, you know, a polling booth, for example, and you're able to get some information and you publish it, you're not the right agency by law mandated to do that. So we should get to know what the law is. We should then follow our facts. We're not saying do not say anything, do not report. Now, to the point you're bringing, we're going to be more strategic. Before the elections, we will go on TV, we would speak to people, we would have more engagement. We would even advise broadcast stations to put out certain guidelines that they will reiterate before their presenters. A few of the networks are already doing that. A few other broadcasters we have engaged have put that in place, and we have had no issues with them after that first engagement. So we'll be more strategic.
Yeah. Perhaps the point you're making now is not just the broadcast organization, but the broadcast personality themselves should be a little more responsible. Well, let's close on the DSO that you came to speak with. Someone is asking me here, first of all, I know that NBC is on all socials, NBC GovNG on all socials. Is that where we will get the price of the boxes? And secondly, there's those who are wondering, if you already have a smart TV, do you still need the box you're talking about?
Okay, so I need to clarify a point also. So the NBC is not selling boxes as, you know. Now, what we said is the fact that you can get those free-to-air boxes yourself, right? But however, I need to point out this point. The NBC ideally should, I mean, in managing this project, should be able to point out where you can get those boxes and be able to access them. What is preventing us from doing that is, unfortunately, one of the stakeholders has taken us to court and relying on misplaced information, which is not true in any way, has basically said the NBC is importing boxes or has placed an order for boxes in China. That does not exist in any way, and we're putting them to the strictest test of that. There's no truth whatsoever to that. However, we did have engagement with the larger body, I mean, stakeholders like Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BORN, and they're looking into the matter to bring about a resolution. Ideally, what the NBC should do is to be able to provide this to Nigerians at minimal cost. That's when we talk about cost, the one-off cost, there's no recurring cost. And then have access. We're trying to create the market. We don't want to put a burden on Nigeria, one. Now, to the second question, even if you have a smart TV today, I know there are several versions of those smart TVs, But we have people reporting to us that they have downloaded the free TV app on their smart TV. You can do it on your iPad, on your tablet, on your phones, you know, at no cost. All you need to do is just follow the questions asked and you put it up and you're good to go. If I had my phone here, I would have shown you right away. It's very, very easy to access.
Mr. Boebu, this is just one of those conversations we're going to have. We're 1 month away from June 17 and more than a year away from June 2028. So we're going to have a lot more, you know, conversation on this. Thank you so much for your time this morning and for the education. Charles Boebu is the Director General and CEO, National Broadcasting Commission. I will not be telling everybody else other relationships that we have on this international show. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day. Yes, we talked about your immune system. That's what we're talking about when we return on Lifestyle.
Welcome back. So, I mean, our bodies are the temple, as we say, Ayo. We should take care of it.
Yes, with water.
Yes. Well, because you're not taking cocoa.
Don't allow yourself to think that I was taking this to the airport. I'm not. You know what I mean?
Don't deceive people. We all know what's inside this cup.
Water.
How do we know?
You want to smell it?
I don't want to smell it. So, how do we boost our immune system? How do we take proper care of our bodies? How do we ensure that, you know, we don't need hospital emergency numbers and you call the doctor during emergencies?
Perhaps one thing that we should look at, Joke, which we don't sometimes give enough attention to, is that, and I know that we don't have so much time for this conversation, is that there are a lot of things breaking out here and there now.
Yeah.
And we're very mobile people.
Yeah.
The latest one now is hantavirus.
Yeah.
We hear that hantavirus has nothing called, what's that thing? Treatment. It's just, you can only, no cure. You can only manage it. Same thing they told us about coronavirus. And that was the story of malaria for many, many years. Maybe like a century ago. But here we are now. I think the important thing, and you find out that these viral diseases, they really don't have to get to us if your immune system is strong enough. I'm just a bloody presenter, but we have a specialist here in the studio who can tell us, you want to bring us, tell us what we're talking about.
Yes, Yonda Agbenika joins us here on the show.
Good morning.
You know, well, I'm sure you can know that she's not a strange face. She's a part of us. You're used to her right now.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people are starting to trust what she says. That
yes, before she starts firing those ballistic scientific grammar. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a while. We're happy you're here to talk to us about this one. Should people be scared?
Okay, so I would like to take us back to the pandemic, you know, and usually data is more important than our empirical data, like I say, is better than just should we not. So that will help us take a decision, like I always say. So if you have the data, then you are able to take a decision. So back then when the pandemic broke out, so we found out that people with existing comorbidities were more susceptible to the virus and to having lethal outcomes. Yeah. What that means is that people who had ongoing conditions or they had one health problem, had their immune system already burdened. Yeah. So with the invasion of an aggressive virus or an additional burden to the overburdened immune system, it was very easy for them to shut down. So that helps us know the importance of, should we be afraid or should we not be? Actually, it depends on your innate immune system and the environmental factors and a lot of things, you know.
So to be clear, when we talk about the immune system, we have an idea, a general idea of what it is, but maybe you want to simplify it so that people can know that it's not something so far-fetched. For instance, there are those people who have told us that immune system could include the fact that if you have a cut, how quickly does it clot? as opposed to you just cut and then the thing is just flowing like River Nile. You want to speak to that? Just simply so that people understand how important it is. Why is she smiling?
Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. By my training, the immune system is not something basic. It is a complex network of proteins, amino acids, and transporters, signaling molecules, and a whole lot. So, but the best way to simplify it is, in English terms, say something that just helps defend you against external invaders. So the invading thing could be environmental stressors. Okay, like stress will induce a cascade of reactions in the body. Steroids, hormones, all that's become wacky, you know. That's one. We're talking of pathogens, things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, all that stuff. Then we're talking of toxins invading. So you need a cascade of events, a network of things in your body to defend you against that onslaught, because we are daily onslaughted by these things.
Right, and where, you know, we've established that the body itself, you know, is wired to create an immune environment against those things. Now, I have doctor friends and doctor siblings that will say, and I want you to, you know, help me out here. I will say that you don't need help. The body does not need help in the area of, you know, extra supplements that could help to boost the immune system. Put me out of my misery. Okay. Is that true?
Yeah, so what?
We or yay or nay?
You know, like, you know, I don't fall into the nay and the yay group. But it's easier to explain, so let's put some logic to that. Okay, so I'll give the most basic form of what we think the immune system is. We have some kind of cells in our body called the red blood cells. I mean, layman's everyday language gives us blood, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Does more than that.
Yeah.
Then we have the white cells, white blood cells. Innate immunity, they help you fight.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you have different kinds of white blood cells, lymphocytes, all that group. They do different things. This one invades bacteria, this one swallows stuff, this one is engulfing stuff and taking them out of your body. You have lymph nodes, encircling stuff, and all that. Now, in a disease condition, let's just say malaria fever, those guys are overburdened. So why do we take medications to help? Because they are overpowered. And so fever sets in, temperature sets in, the inflammation is up, because, I mean, I'm walking, the rate of engulfing, it's called phagocytosis and all that, is faster than the amount of replication. So I need help. The toxic production, body starts getting hot from all that, so you need help.
I'm actually, yeah, so, which is good. I'm also talking about from the point of view of when you don't have a disease condition, so, like daily, do you just take things to just ensure that you don't get to that point?
I was going there.
Oh, I'm sorry, please, by all means.
No. So that's in a disease condition,
yeah.
All right. However, sometimes there are things called deficiencies. You have things like zinc deficiency, vitamin D deficiencies, because we're not getting adequate value from diet. Okay, so sometimes that deficiency is tepid, waiting for an opportune moment to show.
Right.
So your best bet is to look for natural things to help you support that immune system. That system needs help. It does need help, because you could be going around with a zinc deficiency as a man. You wouldn't know until you're trying to do something, and then they say, oh, low sperm count. The fluid in which the sperm cells reside is a zinc-rich fluid. So most men going around don't even know they need zinc supplementation. it blows my mind when I hear you don't need support. Like, seriously, vitamin D deficiency also affects the immune system. T cells, B cells, B12, B6, those things help your immune system to be active. Vitamin C supports your white blood cells. I mean, there are journals, National Institute of Health Research data backing that. Please, your body needs help.
Whether you know, yeah.
So, how do we build the immune system?
Okay, so that's also a cascade of activities. If you know where the trouble is coming from, your best bet is to try to mitigate it. So you want to reduce your toxic load. What are the things that would slow down? What are the things that will slow down your white cell activity? You want to reduce things like sugars. They inactivate your white blood cells. If you take, if you do an experiment in which you drop blood, put a drop of sugar in it and observe under the microscope, you see the white cells are very slow.
Take it again.
If you do a mini experiment in the lab.
In the lab?
Yes. I mean, take a drop of blood and then put it in sugar and then watch the white cell activity. Initially, they are going very fast, but they slow down. So, and those are the guys defending the body. So the first thing is you want to slow down on sugar. That's why diabetics are very prone to conditions, all sorts of bacterial infections. They're prone to a lot of bacterial infections. They have wounds that won't heal because you have to check what we call the HbA1c levels, which means glycation. Glycation means how frozen are your cells in the presence of sugar. Over the last 12 weeks, we want to see. So when a diabetic goes to the doctor and they check his blood sugar, he's going for his blood check or his review, and then he does everything well so that when they take his blood sugar is okay. But you can't cheat the doctor. He just does your HbA1c, who checks for glycation, frozen cells in the presence of glucose over 12 weeks. And so we're like, you've not been obedient. That's one. You want to reduce alcohol. Also inactivates the white cells, T cells, B cells, all that stuff. You want to reduce stress. Lagos.
Tall order.
Don't talk, because the person is talking sometimes. Go ahead, ma.
She said we should not stress her.
Okay. Okay, we should not stress her.
You want to reduce stress as much as possible. You know, you have to look for balancing things to balance it out. Like, you know, you've been a couple of stress for a long time. You want to do things like infrared that helps you rebuild your energy. Pulsed electromagnetic fields, those stuff really help, honestly, because they help to balance the electrical signals in your body, electrical flow, energy levels, help you shut down inflammation. All those things are very helpful. Of course, guided nutritional supplementation. Like I always say, you don't just walk up and like, this one is good, this one is good, this one is good, and you load it up. You don't want to get the toxicity, hypertoxicity from overloading yourself, or you don't want to be wasting money from underdosing. So you need help. That's why it's important to see someone who is certified, someone who can do targeted nutritional supplementation for you, maybe in a cardiovascular, heart health condition. There are things that can support you. You want to support prostate health, and you know you feel that you know when your body is not at its optimum. Of course, you will know when you feel, I think something is wrong with me. I can't put a finger to it. Perhaps your immune system is acting up. You want to see someone who understands that cascade of events to help you.
Is there a place for nutrition in building the immune system?
Okay, so the easiest way, like her siblings would say, is to get it from nutrition. Of course, in medicine, the fastest way is nutrition. However, when nutrition is not optimum, then you can do supplementation, you can do nutrient packing, nutrient loading. There are nutrient infusions people take, there are immune shots people take, there are B12, all that cascade. I don't want to mention names, but there are immune shots that you can take. There are nutrient packs you can get. There are orals you can do safely. But you need someone who is certified.
I understand that. Because almost all of us, we did biology in secondary school. And they will tell you this is the food you eat for your immune system, to build your immune system, this one and that one. There are also those who say, for instance, that the more of vitamin C, for instance, you have in your bloodstream, the more you are likely to be able to fight off a coronavirus back then. You know, we heard that a lot. So that's why I'm asking about nutrition. If there are some things that people, those who are not vulnerable now, they can build up, you know, that, as Joker said, just in case anything happens, the soldiers are already guns are blazing.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a very strong place for nutrition. You could see that during the pandemic, there are people who fell for it and there were people who didn't fall for it, and both had exposures. You could see in a family, some members in the family went down, others just were asymptomatic carriers. What was the difference?
Yes, the difference was that when the mommy cooked the meals, one person said, I'm not eating that food.
Exactly. She did it.
And they said, I'm not eating. And the mother said, you will eat what I provide. Say, I'm not eating. So be it. So you fall.
So that is it.
Is that what happened? I was laughing.
So plenty of fruits and vegetables containing life enzymes would help you. Would help the body, will help the body a lot. The nutrients are still uncooked, they are undenatured. You know, proteins, enzymes are highly denatured by heat. So once you cook them, they are dead. A good portion of them.
So
except
you drink egg raw?
No, I said plants.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so sorry. Oh, right. Enzymes are proteins. They have a protein structure. So once you cook them, the things that break down food for us and make them available for us, you know, once they are cooked, like cooking your cabbage, it beats my mind. Like, what's left? Nothing. I mean, so you want to do fruits, smoothies, vegetables as much as possible. They should be your staple. Avoiding acidic drinks as much as possible, because the acidic terrain, which is what I was talking about, environment, will stimulate disease progression, helps disease progression a lot. As much as you can be alkaline, the environment is tepid and kind of neutral. Anaerobic organisms, anaerobic means things that don't thrive in the presence of oxygen, will not thrive in an alkaline environment. They will thrive in an acidic environment. So you want to create an environment that is suitable for the body to heal, the enzymes to act, the immune system to act, the signaling molecules that are protein-based to act, so that they are not easily denatured.
Is it true that eating your fruits and vegetables is better than drinking? Because you mentioned smoothies now, so I'm just asking, because we get a lot of things out there, do and not do. Don't do and do.
So, Facebook doctors, I mean.
Yeah, I think so
all
too.
sorts of people.
So what I always tell people is that, I mean, just get the fruits in first of all.
Yeah, okay.
Smoothie juices, true that I could go into the biochemical analysis of breaking it down, homogenizing, non-homogenized, surface area, surface tension, all that, but please get it in first before you are trying to separate whether it's better as smoothie or as juices. However, what is being said is that when you take out fiber, you have only the fluid. So you need the fiber in it for bowel movement, to clean the guts, because 70% and above of the immune system lies in the gut, from here to the rectum. So once you take out the fiber, the guys that are cleaning up and scrubbing up, they're gone, and sugar levels can increase from sugar.
Anyone who takes smoothies without a fiber is not taking smoothie, by my definition.
So that's when you juice it. But if you blend everything together,
the juicing.
The juicing is what she said is not good.
Look,
when you blend everything, together,
you get the whole nutrients.
Thank you. There's something that is anyway. There is something that some people have also said, though, that it's only the bitter one that is good for the body.
Is that true? No, not true.
Okay. for instance?
Okay, so there are different. See, if you study herbs and fruits and vegetables, they are different. Herbs are potent.
After studying accountancy, she can't be studying herbs again.
Herbs are potent, okay? Fruits, vegetables, they are dietary sources of nutrients. So taking herbs is very different. Doing fruits, herbs are like treatment. Fruits and vegetables are dietary sources of nutrients.
Okay, so we should forget about whether the fruit and vegetable is bitter or not.
So the bitterness most times is from herbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and they are basically to treat things like diabetes. When you're talking of things like bitter melon, you're talking of bitter leaf, all the tannins, saponins, all those things in them.
Okay. This is part one. How many part ones have we had?
I was going to ask, like, we have not gotten to the part 2 yet.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Wanda Agbeniga has been here talking about how you need to support your immune system. She's the principal consultant, Media Ideas, Lifestyle and Wellness Center. We appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it.
No worry, I'm not giving you any phone number. I'll go and Google it. Home stretch this morning, we're talking about what some of my people will call a veteran. Who is a veteran? We'll find out when we return.
Veteran, please, everyone.
Oh, sorry.
Veteran.
That's what she just said. Yeah.
And go.
Oh, yes, I should go. Our next guest is a veteran.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, a veteran.
Veteran.
Nigerian Hollywood actor, producer, director, musician, celebrated for his incredible linguistic versatility and decades-long career. Born, when I will tell you later, an Igbo man from Aniocha, Anambra State, raised in Lagos. He speaks Yoruba fluently. He even poets. Find out what that means later. Often affectionately called your Nollywood Zaddy, or the Grand Master Thespian. Please welcome Jude Chukwuka.
Whoa.
Wow.
For a moment, I didn't know you were talking about me.
How modest.
How modest, right?
How modest can you be?
That's how we roll. Now, let me make a correction, though. I'm from Aniocha North local government in Delta State.
Delta. Wow.
Oh, really?
I am from Idumuje in Aniocha North local government.
You are from Delta State?
Oh,
God.
That is who I am.
It have to. We are here. So you have another Aniocha in Anambra?
Yes, yes.
The same way they have ours somewhere in...
Oshu?
No.
Where?
In, I think somewhere in...
Nasarawa.
Nasarawa State.
Nasarawa State.
Nasarawa.
I think, yeah.
How not you?
Hey, we're not talking about geopolitics here.
Okay, okay.
We want to talk about you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm honored.
Joke, come back home. Come back home.
Okay.
Swear.
First of all, let me challenge you. First of all, I'd like to, before that, I want to commiserate with you and the entire Nollywood space on the passing of one of your own. What kind of a person was he?
He was like one of my children. Quite close. At the beginning of his career, I guess we did something together, you know. And I knew he was going places because of the way he carried himself. He was dedicated to his craft. You know, he wasn't one of those that will be on set and seek to do video. He will be on set and learn his lines first. Then, after cut, he can now do the video. And that's how you know those who respect what they do for a living. He falls into that category. He is good looking. And in all of his good looks, I've never heard any controversy about him. You understand. So he has been able to manage himself and his craft very well. But unfortunately, you know, it's not a function of age.
You know, you said something, you know, jocularly after the last conversation we had with Dr. Agbeniga about the fact that, to put it the way you put it, Aratin Daragba means I'm not getting any younger.
Oh, yeah.
And so that also speaks to, because the same thing, this fellow in Black Panther, you know, also died at his prime. Yeah. And a number of people like that. So one question I'd like to ask about is how the industry, people in the industry, you know, I don't know, maybe don't open up about their conditions. Yeah. Michael Jackson, the same thing.
Well, yeah. You know, our industry is quite indulgent. What I mean indulgent, I mean we do drinks, we do this, we do that, and people encourage you to, you understand, invite you to nightclubs, invite you to parties, and those are venues where if you do not take reins of your life and flow with that, you the proverbial awoof the rum belly will hit you later in life. You understand. People look at me and say, why do I look this trim at my age and all that? You understand?
Well, there's a new Olubadan in town, so.
But I mean,
this is Channels Television.
Oh, Emma, yeah, sorry.
We're on Channels Television.
Are you sure you were born and raised in Lagos?
I was born and raised in Lawansi.
I was thinking that you were born and in Ballet.
So, I may have asked you this question before, but the rate at which stuff is going on online in your industry, something may soon catch up with us. I saw a video on Facebook, one of these AI videos. It had the face and voice of Morgan Freeman. So it's easy for anyone to take the face and voice of Jude Chukwuka in real life and put him in a movie, a 1 hour or 1.5 hour movie, and Jude Chukwuka had no idea that that was done. How is, and that's just one example. As a friend of mine who's made a video of a new song, 100% AI. And I know that I can do an AI video on my tab or even on my phone. And a good number of people already do that. So is Nollywood, in your opinion and from your experience, ready for the AI invasion?
I categorically will say we are not ready. We are not ready. Even to represent ourselves at that premium channel level, we still struggle with the kind of content we put up than this. But I know there are some young boys who are working assiduously to ensure that Nigeria is not left behind in this angle. But your question goes to the property, that is the looks and the voice. That is a legal thing. And maybe the guest before the last, the NBC guy, can also help us look at how we can have a roundtable discussion as to how to deal with this. Our judicial system may not be matured enough to handle this. I say it with every sense of responsibility. But we can also glean from climes where these things had arisen, how did they resolve it, then we kind of nativize that judgment to suit our own environment. Okay? But to say that on our own, we can know. In fact, I don't have an agent online that can monitor the use of my face and voice globally. But these other guys have it. So somebody in Kazakhstan somewhere may have used my face or something to push an advert and my voice. No agency. And because we don't also have this facial recognition thing, biometrics is not strong enough in Nigeria that we can throw it outside there, that whenever anything matches your features, it is triggered, then you can do the legal part of it. You understand? These are ideas that we could be toying with. You understand? But as it is, as we are talking today and now, I don't think we're ready for it.
Perhaps that also leads to the question of the learning curriculum. For instance, theater arts. I hold the opinion, and I stand to be corrected, that if you start from stage, you do better on the tube. And theater arts, studying theater arts, films, and all of those things, they put you through the rigors quite a lot. So, do you think there is anything to do in that regard as well?
Oh, yes, strongly. The discipline of the profession comes with trainings like that. You understand? When your person called me and said, I'm up for 11:30, what I told her is, I'm a professional actor and I know the value of call time. Call time is not when you come. Call time is when you start work. Like, bank opens 8 a.m. Does it mean it is 8 a.m. the workers working? And that is what call time means to, or ought to mean to every actor. When you say call time is 11, it means you should be there way earlier than 11, prepare, then you start to work by 11. You understand? So, training instills that in you. Well, there are naturals, you understand, that may not need to go to learn how to act. Like, I didn't go through the theater arts department thing. I studied accountancy. However, when I knew it was a career or a path I'd chosen for myself, I affiliated myself with the stage first. You understand? And that is why I keep calling the name of this particular person, or three of them. Israel Ebo, who introduced me, Niji Akane, who molded me, and Niro Makide, who polished me. These three people have so invested in my life by that you just cannot help but be who you are now. You understand? And how I wish we could also look at the curriculum of these departments to include TV production and all of that. How do we get, going from stage? I wouldn't say the craft is dying, but I would say the craft is moving from stage to tube. So how do we transit or teach the students that transition from stage to tube?
Right, and going by that, did you always know you were going to be in this?
Yes, I ignored it. I ignored it. When she was talking, my mind just went back to FSAS S3 when I said, man, A-level, biology, vocalis, odogonielis. I said, I'm not cut out for this one. I'm not cut out for this one. In my A-levels, you understand? But my chemistry and my economics, no problems. It was biology. So I said, no, I'm not cut out for this one. And God delivered me. I went to study accountancy. And after accountancy, last but one semester, I realized I wasn't an accountant. Not because I do not know the technical part, but as a person, I am not. Accountants don't trust their shadows, and I am too trusting. It is part of the trade, yes.
Yes. Wow. But God must have taken you through that path, because now
for a purpose.
You can help yourself.
So when I realized I wasn't an accountant, then I went back to what I'd always been.
The natural way.
talk, act. Then suddenly, a church drama gave me the platform, directed by Israel Ebo, and that was the beginning, 1992,
okay, so
and it was off.
It would seem like you have moved now, or are you combining? Recently, I saw Gabriel Afolayan singing. I see that you yourself, you are segueing into singing.
Well, yes, that is, there's a thing about our trade. You need to reinvent yourself to continue to be relevant. You remember, it was just vibing to Naira Marley so well that moved my status from an actor to a celebrity actor.
Okay.
Now, people have been pushing me, Jude, do something. You do other people's thing, do it. And I just came out of the studio with a 7-tracker EP.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, 7-tracker.
You're in Channel 7.
Oh, sorry, Channel. You understand. So, it was a wonderful experience working in that industry, meeting new people,
doing something different,
naive and fresh at 61. You are a freshman in the studio. Baba, you hold it like Baba, you hold it and all that. And it had been a wonderful thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is the album ready now?
It is ready. It's almost ready. There is a listening party for the album.
Oh, okay.
A listening party on the 22nd of May.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Just here on CMD Magodo. Check my...
we'll send the accounts people to you to collect.
No, that's why I'm not mentioning anybody. I don't send CMD. check my social media handle for details. That is it.
Okay. So how far do you intend to take that?
Yeah.
I'm 61. I think I can give 5 years of my life to music.
Really?
Yes, I think I can give 5 years of my life to music. And
what kind of music? What genre?
Oh, I am not genre bound.
Okay.
I am not genre bound. I am an emotional person, so whatever I feel, okay. Like in this EP, I have 4 rap tracks. Oh yeah, 4 rap tracks. Redemption Day is dedicated to Arsenal. You know we are going to win the league this year, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
How much did they give on?
No worry, now we get them. So I dedicated a track, Redemption Day, to Arsenal. How we have tried the last time, this current group, how wonderful they are, and to shake all the abuse where they don't give us. Make we take them. No worry. But you know,
I'm almost certain that you have 1 or 2 love songs in that album.
Oh, definitely. One is for my wife, Cheat Code. Yes, she's my cheat code. She's the reason why I'm this happy. She's the reason why I could face anybody, and she's my cheat code. Mira, you are my cheat code.
Yeah.
I dedicated that song to her.
He's blowing kisses on national TV.
No, on channels. on channels. It's not out of place to be romantic on channels, my darling.
Backstage, I hope you caught that kiss. We have to.
No, the only person who should catch it is his wife.
Anybody
else catches it.
They should
Anybody else catches
so we
it,
can cut it out.
virus. I know.
They'll catch COVID.
Is there a title to the album?
Yeah, The Things I Love.
The things you love.
Yeah, The Things I Love. In a reverse order, though. Arsenal, my wife, then myself.
So, thank you very much for your time today. My own is Ayimba for life, so I'm not competing with you.
Arsenal came first. Arsenal, my wife.
Jude,
I said in
Chukwuka,
order.
veteran Nigerian Hollywood actor, producer, director, and musician.
So you are cutting me off.
Celebrated for his incredible linguistic versatility. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
He should have sang us out.
His band is not here. You'll come and sing in December.
Yes.
December Sunrise Special.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You definitely will.
In fact, the cheat code, I'll do it for my wife.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Hey.
Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Joke Rogers.